Welcome to Derbania Live. Joining me today is Bryan Lomax, and we are going to rank our bottom 5 episodes and top 5 episodes of season 4 of Smallville. This is epic season for Lana ranting, so it's definitely going to be a good time.
Did all start?
Wow. Hello, Bryan. Introduce yourself and where can they find you?
First of all, I must apologise for the the late start because I'm going to say lamb caught me while I was eating Durban. No, Durban caught me while I was eating lamb.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, it was very nice, and now I'm just burping lamb because I had to brush it down. But hey ho, these are the things you don't see behind the scenes, and I have no reason to tell you about. But there you go. Yes, I'm good. I'm very good. As you know, whenever I'm talking Smallville, I'm good. So
that's right.
It's good.
Awesome. Well, before we dive in, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who are my patrons. Thank you all so much for your support of Derbania. And if you want to check out my tiers of patronage, you can definitely check that out. I have the link in the description below, so you can check that out if you'd like to join. So before we jump into our bottom 5 and top 5 of Smallville season 4, Bryan, what is your experience like? What drew you into the 4th season of Smallville? Because I think it's pretty special for you.
Yeah, this is the season that got me hooked. So, I mean, I think I've said this on the previous shows we did, but just to reiterate, I had seen there's a few episodes dotted about. I wasn't like a fan of the show, but I'd seen enough to kind of think, yeah, that the makers of that show know what they're doing. If it's on, I'll watch it. But I could never zone in on the time at which it was shown, and it was only shown once a week, so I wasn't always, I was off doing stuff. I was playing with my friends and things like that. But on the odd occasion when I was home, I'd catch like Precipice or Tempest. These are episodes. Yeah, really good episodes. I remember thinking, yeah, this is a really good show. And because of those shows, because I kind of, I was aware that the show could be quite good based on the ones I'd seen. There was a channel that I think still is a channel. I think it's still around, E4. And I was at university at the time. And I would come home around about 3:00. And they would just play. I think they played 2 episodes. Maybe it was just the one. I don't know. Oh yeah, it was one episode, but it was every day. So it was Monday to Friday, 3 till 4, and then they'd repeat it on more 4 or whatever it was called. And I would So I'd watch it, and it started with season 4. So while I was at uni, boom, season 4. They kept playing it Monday to Friday, and it was just so easy to watch.
Yeah.
After coming, because I'd be up at 5:00 in the morning to work a job as a cleaner at a cinema from 6 till 10, and then I'd go from there straight to uni and do uni from about 10 till 3. I'd come home and I'd watch Smallville, and it was just something I could crash out and watch it and just really enjoy. And it was like such a feel good show. And at that point, season 4 was pretty light anyway. They kind of lightened things up a bit. They injected a bit more humor and stuff. But I just got addicted to it because of season 4. And because of that, I went to HMV, bought seasons 1 to 3 on DVD and blitzed right through them. And from that point on, I was a Smallville fanatic, and have been ever since. So, yeah, season 4, you are to blame.
For me, by the time I got to season 4, I was already hooked. I'd kind of missed a few episodes here and there with seasons 1 and 2, but that's where I was really getting hooked. And by 3, I wasn't missing anything anymore. And it was the same thing with season 4. And even though season 4 has some pretty big highs, it's got some pretty large stinkers. But not even those were enough to turn me away from the show. And I think you can have no better segue than this. Our bottom 5 episodes of Smallville season 4. And Bryan and I have said this before, but we like to do the bottom 5 first because Smallville's a great show. So let's talk about the junk and get that out of the way, and then we'll end it on that positive note. So, Bryan, let me just go ahead and toss it over to you. What is your bottom number 5?
This is going to be a controversial choice because I know this is an episode that a lot of fans seem to really dig. And I did at one point when I first watched the show. But yeah, my number 5 is Sacred. Like I say, I know. So it's a pretty action-heavy episode, and it's very stylized, and the setting in China is really nice. Some really nice colors, the wardrobe, and all that. So I think, as we've said before, when you have a bad episode of Smallville, there's still a lot of craftsmanship that goes into it. There's still things about it that you can enjoy, and I wouldn't say this is a terrible episode. It's a solid 6 out of 10 or 3 out of 5 for me. It's a good episode. It's just not as good as it should be, and the reason is it's such a pivotal one. That's the problem. It's like this isn't like a Monster of the Week episode, that kind of thing. This isn't an episode you can skip over because it's crucial to the lore of Smallville. It's just a little bit annoying that Lana drama. It's been said in the comments. It's
hashtag Lana drama.
Yeah, this episode is really the pinnacle of the season, of her storyline kind of coming to a head, and all these elements coming together, and to some extent that's the problem. The problem is the showrunners have kind of put too much focus on Lana during this season, but in the wrong way. I've said before, I've never been against Lana so much as the way she is written. We always see, like, season 4 is the first time they give her a story arc that matters.
Yeah.
But it's so stupid.
Yes, it is.
Witches, it's like, we get
so bad.
We get character stuff with Whitney in season 1, then Whitney's gone by the end of season 1, so that was pointless. We get Henry Small in season 2, this whole storyline with her father. Where's that going to go? Well, apparently nowhere, because Henry Small is gone by the end of season 2 and never comes back.
Yep.
Season 3, we get something looking a bit more promising with this, Adam Knight. What's going to happen? His whole story is going to come to a head maybe towards the end of the season. No, halfway through the season, they figure out they don't actually know what they're doing with him, and they off him, and that's it. He's done. Lana's story kind of goes nowhere once again, and we never hear anything about Adam Knight again. Season 4, we got the big stone, the big mythology story with these stones, with Lex and Clark trying to hunt these stones down, and they find a way to put Lana in there to hunt the stones down as well with the Teagues, and that's all great. But the problem is, she's a descendant of a witch.
Yes.
Like, there's no way you're connecting this with Kryptonian mythology and making me jump on board. It's stupid. That's plain and simple. It's stupid. And I'm sorry, but when Lana goes all crouching tiger, hidden dragon on Clark and actually takes him down. Sorry, you kind of blacked out there.
Yeah, my camera program is having trouble, but I hear you, and we're still going. So just keep on talking.
Okay, so when she goes all crouching tiger, hidden dragon on Clark and actually takes him down, I'm like, no, sorry, you kick him, your foot breaks, and you hit the deck. So it's just like, it's nonsensical. It's absolutely nonsensical, and it's literally there as a way of, it's the showrunners basically trying to make Lana more important than she needs to be. And like I say, witches, no.
The witches plot was so dumb. And on the one hand, like, I get what they wanted to do with Kryptonian lore because they want to show magic affects Clark like it affects the rest of us. The thing I like about Sacred is the action. That's why it's not in my bottom 5, even though it's Lana-centric. I know people in the comments might be going, what? Durbin didn't take a Lana-centric episode and put it in the bottom 5. It's because I do like the action. And I like the season 4 premise of them finding these 3 stones of knowledge. And so this idea of them going to China, I liked. But I agree with you. And that's the biggest drawback. It's like you can't skip this episode because it's too crucial. It does have some great stuff. And you and I were talking about this right before we went live, where Smallville can have one of the dumbest episodes ever, but their B storyline is epic and amazing. So you have to wade through that bad stuff to get the amazing stuff. And I think that's a good picture of this episode, Sacred, because for some reason, Smallville wants us to believe Lana Lang is important, and she's not. Like, I mean, I could tolerate her in the first 3 seasons, you know? I mean, it's Clark's first love. So it's like, you know, she's still bothers me, but I can tolerate her in the first 3 seasons. But season 4 is the first season where I just lose it, man, because the whole witch plot is stupid. Lana had no business going after those stones. And again, why do all of her ancestors look just like her? Great Aunt Lana in season 3, Witch Lana in this. And I'm just like, I can't take, why do they think that she's this important? Okay, if you have to have her back, she doesn't have to be a central figure, because if you got the Teagues, the Luthers, and Clark going after the stones, that's more than enough. Lana needs no part in that. Yeah. Ugh.
The thing is, you could have had Lana. You could have had the Teagues going after the stones because they know about Krypton, because they have a connection to Professor Swan, and you can still. Yeah, and you can still have Lana being Jason and Genevieve's way into Clark's world.
Yes.
Where, you know, where he befriends her, kind of becomes a boyfriend in order to get close to Clark. You can still have all that stuff and make Lana have a central, you know, all the relationship stuff there with Jason could still happen. You just don't need the witches stuff. She can still become embroiled in the hunt for the stones once she finds out what Jason's up to and what Genevieve's up to, and be torn between the two. You just do it without the witches.
Yes. And I feel so bad because Erica Durance gets possessed by many spirits as the show goes on. And her performance here is the worst. It's not like she's the worst witch. I think she's the best of the witches. But in terms of her being possessed by something, like, she gets better at playing that part as the show goes on. And it's like, I don't like when Chloe and Lois and Lana are, but that's another episode. But the point is, it's just, I don't know. Like, it just was so irritating, this whole witch magical plot line. And you could just tell it was not organic. And they're just like, okay, Lana just needs to be important for some reason. We don't know what it is, but let's just keep her going. Yeah. Well, my number 5 is a little bit Lana-centric. And I don't know what y'all are going to think of this, but here it is. Number 5, Devoted. And this is the episode where the cheerleaders make a love potion out of kryptonite.
I love this episode.
Well, there's things about this episode that I do enjoy. For instance, Lois and Clark teaming up. I feel like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time you really see them team up together on a story with the torch. And that I love. That part. And that's why I kind of went back and forth on this, and I can't remember what the other one was, but I went back and forth on, should this one be here or should it be something else? What should be here? And I ultimately went with this one because of the creepy factor, because when Jason Teague drinks the potion and he's utterly devoted to Lana, it highlights how wrong their relationship is, because let's just be honest, they're actors that are probably the same age in their 30s playing high schoolers. So it all looks fine. But what they're portraying is Lana is a minor and she's 17. And he's old enough that he could be a teacher at her high school. And the cover he chooses, I mean, he could have picked working at the freaking Talon and being the Talon's manager. Does he do that? No, he decides to be a teacher at Lana's high school. She's the student and he's the teacher. And they want us to care about this relationship and think it's so important, but it just grosses me out. And so when he drinks the love potion and, like sends those notes to get her out of class and all that stuff, I'm like, seriously, you're making light of what's really gross. And these two are really, really gross. And so in the end, that's why I put Devoted here. It does have fun elements to it, but to me, the junk just outweighs the fun. So yeah.
I find that the fun outweighs the junk in that one. I gotta say, I just it's one of those episodes that's like, it is stupid, but it knows it's stupid. And that's the big difference, really.
Well, actually, the other one I almost went with was Facade. I almost put that here, but I also felt like that was one that was stupid and knew it was stupid. And I didn't put it there because Clark and Lois have a great moment at the end of the episode. And I love it so much that it kind of elevated that out of the bottom 5.
Isn't it this one, though? Isn't it Devoted that ends with Lois throwing the beanie bag thing that knocks Clark into the water?
Episode before this, that's Facade. And then
this
one
Facade,
ends,
is it? Oh,
yes,
right.
This one ends where Lex Luthor gets Lois out of high school. And he signs whatever paperwork, and she could go back to Metropolis University.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
For some reason, I felt like that. All right, I'm getting confused there. Then
maybe I have it backwards, but I'm pretty sure. And those in the comments could let us know if I'm wrong there. But I'm pretty sure Facade is the one where she throws the beanbag and Clark, because I specifically let that one free because what a great moment that is.
Right. Okay. Because I thought that was Devoted, where Chloe's looking on and realizes that
Scotty Boys rules loves Devoted as well. So you definitely have support there.
Yeah. Because I remember Chloe looking on and seeing that there's a spark between Clark and Oh, so I love Facade.
There it is.
Yeah, so it must be Facade. Well, I'm getting seriously confused then.
It happens, and it sucks because we've just watched it.
Oh no! Hang on. Facade is the one where they are drinking the juice, innit?
Devoted, they drink the love potion juice. Facade is where they're trying to do the plastic surgery for that one girl who has all the pimples and stuff, so she turns beautiful. And then Lois goes undercover. And
I prefer Devoted.
Yeah. Oh, fun.
Okay.
All right, Brian, what is your number 4?
Right. My number 4 is Spirit.
Spirit.
Yes, Spirit. This is an episode that when I first watched it, I had a lot of fun with, really enjoyed it. But it's unfortunately one of those episodes where the more I watch it, the more I see problems with it. One of the things I don't like that Smallville does quite often, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, is when you play a scene as your opener to the episode, which is a scene that is going to come again later in the episode. Yeah. And the reason you do that in television, the reason you do that in any kind of narrative form, is to build tension and suspense for the viewer, who's then sat there asking, how do we get there? How do we get there? You know, that's the question it raises, and then you spend the rest of the episode figuring out, how do we get there? The problem is, the moment we get past the opening credits, we know fully well how we're going to get there, because we see the car accident with the girl and the meteor rock, and then we see that she starts body hopping. So the moment we see that she starts body hopping, we know fully well what's going on with Chloe in that opening scene. So there's no tension there. So it feels like actually what's happened there is they've replayed a scene that comes later in the episode as a tension builder, because they just quite simply didn't have enough episode to go around. So it's filler basically. And then you've got the scene in which you have the car crash, and then the woman the girl develops that meteor power. That's your opener. That's your episode opener. You know, crash, boom, swaps bodies with Martha, boom, cuts to credits. Somebody save. You know, that's that's the way it should go. But yeah, so a lot of this episode feels like filler. It is. again, it's still an entertaining episode. There's stuff in it, particularly Annette O'Toole when she's playing body swapped and she's getting all lovelorn and jealous over Clark and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoa, it's just weird. But Annette O'Toole's such a great actress, and she pulls it off, and it's just really funny. It's funny watching her do that.
It's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah. So really, there's no tension in the episode because of that intro. And then when we get to that scene again later on, it's like, oh, come on, just get on with it. We've seen all this already, but they're going to play through it all again, as if they've got to remind us. And it's just so it doesn't work really. It's fun, but it's not great.
Yeah. I agree, and I'll say more on it when I get to it in my bottom list. But right now, for my number 4, please don't hate me. Please don't hate me. Crypto. That is my bottom number 4. And, sometimes it's hard for me to pinpoint, but I have just never been a fan of this episode. I like the dog. I like Shelby. Shelby's cool, but I don't know. I just think the concept of super dog, I went, this is so stupid. And I think when I was watching it live as it was airing, it's just a filler episode. I mean, yeah, Clark gets a dog out of it and gets to be a fun, member of the Kent family, but it's just a dumb episode. And I never, ever really liked Crypto. It's just, I don't know, never connected with it, never liked it. What do you think of that one, Brian?
I think it's a middle of the road. It's not particularly outstanding, but it's certainly not a bad episode. I wouldn't put it in anywhere near my bottom 5. I think there's some redeeming moments in it. I like the sparring between Clark and Lois because they're kind of on this adventure together with this episode. Yeah. So I like that they get a lot of screen time together, and there are some scenes that have some real kind of that they give Cujo a run for the money, like the scenes where the dog attacks Jonathan. It's shot really well, and it's quite tense. It gets you on the edge of your seat because you're like flipping it. That thing's a beast. Although it does kind of have a little bit of inconsistency because at the beginning of the episode we see a dog ripping through a steel door, and yet it's when it attacks Jonathan, he's having a good fight with it, when in actual fact one bite should take his arm off based on what we saw in the beginning of the episode. But
I'm also thinking of Jonathan's heart. How much can his heart take? Because we're already building up, he's got a bad heart, and building up for this moment in season 5, and this super Rottweiler, not just a Rottweiler. I mean, just a Rottweiler would be scary enough, but a super Rottweiler who took a steel door off is now on his arm and he's fine. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe this.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of forgettable. It's not, when you think of season 4, it's one of those episodes that you don't think about until you're going through the episode listing and you go, oh yeah, Crypto, that's an episode.
Yep. Forgot about that one. Oh, that's where Clark got the dog. Because it's like, you remember the dog in other parts, but it's like, oh, that's where it came from. Right. Like we needed that origin story.
but there's nothing in it that screams like, this is so bad that it makes you angry or anything like that.
Yeah, but I don't think this episode actually has anything crucial to the overall story of the season. So if there's like an episode you could truly skip, I think it's this one. You might have the question of where did he get the dog, but I don't think there's anything important to the story. I can't remember because it's that forgettable to me.
It is filler.
All right. It is definitely filler. All right, Brian, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Forever.
Forever.
Oh, yes, man alive.
Yeah.
The villain in this story. What the hell? Come on. Seriously. To pull off what he pulls off is like insane. It would require an insane. We're talking Bond villain kind of levels here,
And are we talking Luther Wealth Like, granted, his dad was a construction guy, but to still build the school over again.
Yeah. Just because you're in construction doesn't mean you can build whatever you want. Somebody has to pay for that building to get built. It's not just like, oh, I'm in construction, so I can use all these things. No, actually, I have to bill myself for these things because I'm self-employed and it all comes out of my own wage. So yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. And the time, I don't know about how they build things where you live, but over here, you want to build a school, it's going to take a good year or so.
Yeah.
It's
you got to build that right.
Yeah, and not only that, but we're supposed to buy that he's made an exact replica, right down to all the articles on the wall on Chloe's
my God,
desks and all this stuff. It's like, so what? He's gone in and he's photocopied every article and he's put it back in the replica exactly where Chloe has it. What if Chloe goes in one day and moves, takes that item off the wall because she needs it, and then all of a sudden she's there and it's, oh, why is it leaning back? It makes no sense at all. It is the most preposterous, bonkers plot for any villain of the week that we've ever had on Smallville. It is stupid beyond belief. Absolutely stupid. And it's just like somebody with this intellect and ability to get things done. I'm sorry, but you're running for president in a few years' time. You are not sticking behind in high school because you feel like it's the best years of your life. You're the kind of student that is getting the hell out of high school and making something of yourself. This makes no sense. It is stupid, stupid, stupid.
Stupid. This one was a contender for my bottom 5, and it was my bottom 5 was actually kind of hard because, like I said, season 4 has got some stinkers, but I can't defend this episode at all. But I think the reason it didn't hit my bottom 5 is because I forgot it even existed when I was making it. It's just like I forgot about it. Like, it's just one of those episodes I don't even think about, especially because it comes right before the season finale. And so it's like, that stinker of an episode and then the finale of season 4. And so that good thing so completely overshadowed this stupidity for me that I forgot enough about this episode to even think about it. But, it was stupid. I totally agree with you. So stupid.
Yeah. So does Mary. She agrees with me. She says it's a really stupid episode.
Awesome, thanks, Mary. Yes. Now, speaking of stupid, my number 3 is one we've already talked about, which is Spirit. I don't know. I could not stand this episode. I mean, when I was going through and watching it, there was this part of me that, and this is your fault, Brian, I kind of had to determine if there was an episode I realized I just didn't like, I was just going to skip it because I wanted to review the seasons, but why am I going to watch these dumb episodes and put myself through it again? And then you came up with this idea, and I'm like, okay, crap. I guess I got to watch them all. But I did not like Spirit. I did not like the body jumping. I just didn't like the airhead personality of our villain. I just didn't like that at all. I wish she was more sinister somehow. But I did not. I think and Annette O'Toole did a good job acting like a bozo high school student, and it was kind of fun. I think Erica Durance did a good job. It's not like they did a bad job, but I just didn't like it. I did not like that persona. And I didn't even like it when Chloe, was taken over by this beast. And I was just like, I just truly don't care. And what's worse, at the end, when the spirit possesses Clark and she slaps Chloe in the face, did you note how much her head jerked back and how far her body flew? I don't know what Smallville thinks of mortal men, but in the real world, she's dead, she's never waking up from her coma. I mean, there's no reality where she just wakes up from that and pretends to not see Jonathan Kent expel a spirit with kryptonite. It's just like, oh my gosh. So that episode, I hate it. It was not a good one.
There's a thing with Smallville where chances are, like 99%, you're going to be in for a bad episode if the villain of the week is either a jock or a cheerleader type. If they're one of those kind of cliquey Heathers type girls, which we have quite a few of on the show, then you're in for a bumpy ride. If it's a jock, you're in for a bumpy ride. But yeah.
So my good friend here, I'm really looking at Spirit now. Good luck for you. And then Dale, he says every season sounds like it has really good episodes and really bad ones. It's very true. Smallville is an absolutely brilliant show. I never liked this Klana moniker.
No. It does have bad ones, but as I've said, even the bad ones, they are entertaining. It's got to be said.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like sometimes the writers know they just need to fill time, and so they throw in something incredibly important. So you have to watch it. But
the thing is, it's like these days they make TV shows where you're talking like 10 to 13 episodes.
Yes,
and they can they've got a whole year to make that season. They can put every episode can be essentially a mythology episode.
Yeah.
Whereas back when they were making Smallville, most shows were like 22 episodes a season. You're gonna get filler. You're gonna get filler. You get, you spend. They make an episode in 8 weeks. That's from conception, writing, shooting, editing, getting all the special effects, music done. It takes them 8 weeks to do a TV show. So. You're going to get stinkers. You're going to, they're going to have to put more energy into some than they do others. And the ones they put the energy into are going to be the ones that are pivotal to the overall story. So, but when good, they're very good. And it's one of the best shows on television. So
it makes me wonder how Smallville would do if they were 13 episode seasons and they could all be mythology. Oh,
yeah. It would be fantastic.
Well, speaking of a lack of mythology, let's dive into your number 2.
Spell, yes.
What a stinker.
Yeah. I will say, if you look at most seasons of Smallville, in fact, I'm gonna hazard a guess and say all seasons of Smallville, chances are the mythology episodes are not appearing in the bottom 5. Yes. Chances are the mythology episodes appearing in the top 5.
Yes.
Except with season 4. And that's because of this stupid bloody witches story.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, this is where it starts. Spell. It's just, no. Like, when Spell kind of first came on, you could kind of buy that it's just a one-off episode, fun little story maybe. You've got no idea that they are actually asking you to believe that this is an essential part of the Smallville lore mythology,
Yeah.
So it's only like, it was bad the first time I watched it. Don't get me wrong, but it was one that you could say, yeah, I can forget about that one. No, nope. This is an essential episode. This is an episode in which if somebody comes to me and I tell them I'm a Smallville fan, and they say, okay, give me an episode list of all the ones that I need to watch. Unfortunately, I've got to put this turd in there.
Oh, it's so awful.
Because if you don't watch it, you won't have a clue what's going on in Sacred. You won't have a clue what's going on with the Stones and all that. So, yeah. But it's pants. Absolute pants. And it's just like, it feels like an excuse by some horny teenage boys to get the 3 female leads in the show dressed up in kind of tight revealing clothing and do it's just like, and as a teenage boy, I'm sure I would really, really appreciate that. But now I'm like, you know what? Give me a good story, give me good characters, because this ain't doing it for me.
Well, I was a teenage boy when this aired, and I went, no, what is this? Oh, but I'll have more comments on Spell in just a second. you and I actually have something in common here. My number 2 is your number 1. So, are we ready for this
Ooh,
reveal?
Okay then. Go for it.
My number 2 is Ageless, which makes your number 1 Ageless. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Bryan, kick us
man.
off on the awful rant. Why don't you? Just go ahead. Kick us off.
Literally, you could drop this episode and no one would ever know.
It is meaningless.
It is absolutely meaningless. There is literally nothing in this episode that you need to see. If you seriously watch the one before this and go straight to the one after this, you wouldn't know about it. It's just not only that, but it suffers again. I'm sorry, Mary. I'm sorry, Mary. Sorry.
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull her up. I'm so sorry, Mary. She liked it.
Yeah, but so Mary's a friend of mine. We've had we tend to agree quite a lot on Smallville, but there's 2 episodes in particular where we've kind of disagreed on. One is this one, and the other one is Skinwalker. Mary has quite a passion for like the Native American culture and stuff, so she has her reasons for liking Skinwalker. But my reasons for disliking this episode, Ageless, primarily are the same reasons why I dislike Skinwalker, and that is you are asking too much of us for a character that we know fully well ain't coming back. You know, we know for a fact Clark and Lana are not going to have a child for the rest of the series.
No.
Okay, we know that this
mom and dad. They're not going to be husband wife. I agree with Rebecca. Probably one of the worst in the entire series.
Yeah, they're not going to be mom and dad. They're not going to have a kid together. You know, so right off the bat, you're onto a loser, because they want us to be emotionally invested in a character that is going to go through an entire life cycle, and I just don't care at all. It's like when you go through certain things, you know, the teenage phase, you know, you're invested in the character of the teenager because you've gone through it all with them. You've been through all the ups and downs and stuff. You can't just say, "Oh, now we're at the teenage phase. Spits his dummy out for a bit. Oh, we can relate to that. We care for him. No, move on to the next bit. It was an adult now," and it's just like, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. When he dies, I feel nothing.
Nothing. I did feel something. I felt relief that it was over.
Yes.
And I felt guilty about that.
Absolutely.
That's what I felt, because not only is the witch plot so taxing, but this show wanted us to believe so bad that Lana and Clark is something important and something special, and I'm sorry, it's not. I mean, the comics might go back even a little with Lana and Clark in high school, but not to the extent of Smallville. And it's just like, there was nothing. It did not add to the Lana and Clark relationship, not even one bit, because she continued her Lana drama of Clark, you're so vile because you're keeping so many secrets from me. And it just added nothing. It didn't improve their relationship. It didn't strengthen their relationship. It was terrible.
Yeah. I feel absolutely nothing. And they shoehorn this whole thing at the end where he kills the dad. You know, and he pushes him and accidentally kills him, I think it is, and it's just like, why did that need to happen? That just didn't need to happen. It was like, there's so much about this episode that's stupid. It boggles my brain.
I totally feel like they were trying to put Clark in the position of Jonathan Kent. Clark now has an adopted son, and he's now seeing that adopted son rail against him the way Clark has railed against Jonathan when he put on the red kryptonite ring and all of that stuff. And now we're supposed to see Clark going through this, but it adds nothing to Clark's maturity. It adds nothing to his character. And like you said, it's irritating. And this show asks us to buy into a lot.
Yeah.
Like, how does that kid learn to talk? I just don't get it. Like, he could, and I guess they're trying to say accelerated knowledge with everything else, but it's like, I'm sorry, I can't. With this show, I have to suspend my disbelief enough. This is asinine.
The thing is, this is an idea that has been used in multiple shows. Smallville isn't the first show that I've seen use this idea, but I've never seen it done well. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're asking too much, It's just doesn't work.
I like this one. This comment here. I love Kalana, and I wasn't a fan of this one. Yeah. That makes me feel better that somebody a fan of that Clark and Lana relationship still does not like that episode. Oh. Well, moving into my number one bottom, and we've talked about this.
Spell. I knew it was going to be Spell.
And yes, it's because it's Lana-centric, but it just drives me nuts because, again, we've talked about this, so I won't spend a lot of time harping on this, but it's the fact that it really wanted Lana to be central to Clark's quest this season, the way Lex is, the way the Teagues are. They wanted the Lang name to be up there with the Luthor name, and I'm like, it's not working, okay? You can't make her into what she's not, and then picking the witch to throw her into this, it's really irritating. But here's something really irritating to me about this whole overarching story. In this episode, Spell, it's all about how she wants to gain the Stones of Power. She wants to get revenge and kill all the descendants of the Teagues, right? So we know that's one of her motivations. But another clear motivation set forth in this episode is she wants the Stones of Power because Mrs. Teague's ancestor turned her onto that search, and she wanted to keep the stones for herself so that the world could be hers, like any good, nefarious comic book villain. But you get to the season finale, and the opener is the witch possesses Lana, and the witch takes the stone and stabs Mrs. Teague in the heart, and she dies. Now, the Teague son is still alive, but this puts the witch spirit now at rest. And I'm like, seriously, you can't be at rest. You accomplished exactly 50% of your goal. That's a failing grade. You still have this whole overarching thing that we discussed about, and that is you wanted to take over the world. But what that shows me is the show didn't believe the junk it was trying to shove down my throat. It didn't believe that this whole plot was important. It knew for some reason Lana needed to be in the fray, and it came up with the most shallow way possible, and then showed us in a throwaway scene in the first 2 minutes of the season finale truly how useless of a plot line this was, especially when it comes to the powerful Kryptonian mythology that the season finale begins to pour out. It's like,
Yep.
I feel better. I got that off my chest. Oh, man.
There's one more thing I want to say just about season 4 overall with regards to negatives. And that is the complete mishandling of the character of Jason Teague.
Yeah.
And this is because I firmly believe they've played episodes out of order.
Oh, really?
Yes. Now, so towards the end of the season, Jason and Lana drift apart because Jason threatens Lionel. Lana sees it. She doesn't like him being violent. It kind of drives a bit of a wedge between them.
And then she and Clark have a baby. That changes.
Yeah. And then she ends up kind of going off with Clark, and then he sees her on the dance floor at the prom thing, and then leaves. Now, all that stuff doesn't make sense because it's played in completely the wrong order. Because 1 minute she sees it, she witnesses him doing this violent act and kind of throws a hissy fit at him. The next episode, they're back in cahoots again. And then the next episode after that, he sees her on the dance floor with Clark and assumes that they're together and then goes up. And it doesn't work. Yet if you flip one episode over, it works. a natural progression of Jason Teague's character, how he drifts away from Lana and switches back to his mother, makes sense if you flip 2 episodes around. I can't remember which 2 episodes they are, but it does.
That's a good experiment, though. I could go back and look that up, and if I do this binge again, I might have to do that now, remembering that point, because that is interesting.
Yeah.
I thought this was funny. Wizzy Lizzie said, the only good thing about Spell is Clark dancing in the barn.
Yeah.
Rebecca agrees. Indeed, the only good thing. Oh, man. Well, with that out of the way, let's switch gears into what is positive about season 4, because you said this was the season that got you hooked and kept you coming back. So there's definitely got to be that good that kept you attached to it. And even though this season had its really low lows, probably some of the lowest lows of the entire show are in this season, it definitely has some great episodes. So why don't you kick us off with your top number 5?
My number 5 is Ron. That's right.
Yeah.
So we get Impulse, Bart Allen.
Yes.
Basically, this is the first kind of stab at getting the Justice League going. So, from this point on, the showrunners are thinking, right, we're going to start introducing characters. We're going to build to a Justice League. We're going to steadily bring them in. The first one they do that with is Bart Allen, Impulse. And it's just a really well done episode. The relationship between Bart and Clark is really nice. Bart's a bit of a cocky little douche who kind of needs a bit of mentoring from Clark. Clark does his kind of like he did with Ryan. He's always looking out for kids. Clark seems to have this kind of innate foster care kind of episode. It's just a good relationship. It's a good start, and I like the way Lex is intertwined with that story, the way that there's animosity there between Lex and Bart later on in the series because of what happens here and stuff. It's good. It's fun. It's well written. It's got some good action beats. It's got some good relationship dynamics between Clark and Bart when they're running against each other and things like that. It's just I love it. I love Bart's kind of attempts to chat up Chloe, and it's just his one.
You know what though? Smooth move that he went and got that flower before she could even blink. Like, that was smooth.
There was a one-liner he came out with when he's chatting her up. I can't remember what it was, but I just
can't remember it off the top of my head. Maybe somebody in the comments will remember his one-liner to her.
I remember when he said it, I was just like, oh yes.
Yep. Definitely my number 5 is also Run.
Hey.
And what's funny is you and I, our top 5 is so similar. It's kind of scary, but I loved this one. Like, the first time I watched it, I didn't know anything about the Flash. And then once I watched the Flash on the CW and learned more about the Flash and Barry Allen, I kind of went, why did they go Impulse instead of the Flash? But then I just didn't care because I like Bart Allen. I like Impulse. And one of the things that I liked about this episode is Bart Allen introducing fun into Clark's life, because so much of Clark is his powers are a burden and he's kind of cursed with them. And, those episodes where they flip a coin, heads, he loses his power. When that happens, like, you kind of see Clark relieved a little bit. But what I love is Bart Allen teaching Clark how to have fun with his abilities, like how they run to Florida together and get a drink together. And Bart gets that phone number for Clark from that girl. And, like, little fun moments like that, though, are just so great. And then it's also great because, Bart's a thief and Clark inspires Bart to use his abilities to be a hero instead of being a thief. So it's cool because you see these two heroes impact each other and it's not entirely one-sided. And so I really did like that. And I also love the line that he drops at the end where he's like, I just want to go out in the world now and see if there's others like us, and maybe we could start a club or a league or something. Like, yeah, wink, wink, nod, nod. I can't wait for that.
Again, though, it's like, if you watch this show now, having never seen it before, if you're visiting it for the first time, you're doing so within a world that has the Arrowverse, that has Marvel movies and DC movies akimbo, and it's just like, but back then, you didn't have that stuff live action. You just didn't have it. It's like it was a dream. The thought that Batman and Superman might ever be on screen together was just a fanboy dream and nothing more. So when you've got Impulse there and he makes a specific reference to Justice League, if you're a comic book nerd, if you're a fan, you're instantly going, oh, come on. So
it's awesome. At the end of the episode, the run was brilliant. I totally agree with that. I love that run and kind of the smiles they give each other.
Yeah.
Kind of watching for the first time. Awesome. Well, I hope you're enjoying. All right, let's go back over here.
And that's a theme that they repeat in the Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a great theme. All right, let's dive into your number 4, because your number 4 and my number 4, they are one and the same. So you ready to dive on in? Here we go. Pariah.
Yes. Yeah.
This was a good episode. You go ahead and kick us off.
Well, it's the episode where Chloe learns of Clark's powers.
Yes.
So it's seeing him catch the car and seeing the look on Chloe's face when the penny finally drops, and you're like, yes, we never needed Pete. It should have always been you.
Yeah.
So.
But plus, I just love that scene where she's like, Clark, get out of the way, and that car comes barreling and he just catches it. Oh yeah, it's awesome.
But the character of Alicia is such a good one, and I really like her. I like the way that she's played by, is it Sarah Carter? I think her name is.
I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
I think it's Sarah Carter. I always get mixed up between Sarah Carter and Sarah Chalk, but I think Sarah Chalk was from Scrubs, and I think Sarah Carter is But anyway, neither here nor there. It's just it's that thing that I've spoken about a few times, where if you're going to ask for something that has an emotional intensity to it, if you're gonna do something to Clark that is going to affect him on a very emotional level, and therefore hopefully affect us as the viewers on an emotional level, then you need to build it up.
Yes.
You need to give us a reason to invest in there, not just fall in love and lose that love in one episode and then expect us to care. Not get a child, have it grow up and die and expect us to care, Yes. So what they do is they take a character that they've already established, that we know has had a relationship with Clark. They bring her back, and they posit the possibility that perhaps she is better, that she's changed her ways, and we see that to some degree she has, to some degree she hasn't, but that she's been manipulated. And because she's been manipulated, we feel sorry for her. It gains our sympathy for her. And because Clark is a good person, he sits where we sit. He sees that she's been manipulated. So you got all these people who, that's the word pariah, is social outcast, and that's what she becomes, because everyone else in Clark's life doesn't trust her because of who she was way back when. But Clark is willing to give her a second chance, and it's just, and because of that, you become invested in this relationship, because she's been manipulated, because Clark is willing to give her a second chance. You become invested, and because she's still there by the end of the episode, that all right, so they are doing something with this. Then it wasn't one and done. You know,
Yeah.
we've had a previous episode, we've had this one, but she's still here by the end of the episode. She's coming back next week. Okay, I'm invested. I want to see where they go with this character. Good work.
Yeah. No, me too. And I think they did a great job with that because I love seeing Clark looking for the best in her, even when his parents aren't seeing it. So in some sense, it's Clark coming into his own a little bit. And you do look at it, you're like, Clark, you are being a little bit naive, but you also understand his heart. But they do a good enough job with Alicia that you see, yeah, she's full of stupid decisions and stupid mistakes, but you see that the goodness of Clark is truly one of the best things for her and how much like she is changing because of it, even though the basis of this episode is she goes a little nuts, and that's why she reveals to Chloe Clark's secret, because she wants Clark's secret out there, thinking Chloe will, ruin that for Clark. And so it's like, it's sad because you see this battle going on in her, and you wonder which side would win. Would it be the crazy side, or would it be the good side? But you're invested with Clark because I think they did a great build up this season of Clark feeling so lonely. Lana's with Jason, and for some reason he's not thinking about Lois, and there's nobody else because he's just afraid to share his secret. And so with Alicia, he has that feeling of freedom because she knows his secret. And so they just did such a good job of kind of showing that relief on Clark's face when he's with her, because he doesn't have to hide. And so they did a good job with that. So when she is hung by the actual villain at the end of the episode, dang. It's good.
That was one of the. This is one of the moments. This is one of the episodes actually in season 4 that really got me hooked. So when I was coming home from university and watching it, I got hooked. So that moment when they killed her off, I was like, no way. and I felt something. It was like a stab through the heart because I really liked her, and
Yeah.
But
well, it's funny because I feel like I don't like Alicia, but I like her because Clark likes her so much, and like that's every time she's on, I love her character arc because it's so interesting how they write it and how they do it. But I feel like every bit of me liking Alicia is because Clark likes her, and I get to see it through Clark's perspective. Because I feel like just left to its own device, I'd be like all the rest of everybody else on the show, like, get her out of your life, man. But through Clark's perspective, I warm up to her.
Yeah, but I think that, it's not just because, I don't think Clark just has blinkers on, though. It's not like...
No, yeah, and that's it, yeah.
Because Clark can and has been and will be, again, guilty of making some stupid choices.
Yes.
And you kind of want to give him a slap and say, dude, wake up. Whereas here, he's seen the way that Alicia's been manipulated. He knows she's trying to go straight,
Yeah.
But the doctor that had kind of held her to ransom, so to speak, in the previous episode, he wouldn't let her. So it's not her fault, and he sees that. So because of that, I do like her. It's not just like, and obviously if I was looking at that relationship from everyone else's perspective, then I probably wouldn't, because you're going off what she's done in the past, and you don't know what she's been through recently with Clark. But no, it's good. It's a good relationship. Again, they do work to get us there, and it's like, I feel like they've done this work so that then they can pull the rug out of us and stab us in the heart, which is what it feels like at the end. And I feel for her because it's such an undignified death as well. It's just, it's like, just to see her hanging there like that is just like, oh man, there's no dignity in it. You're on show. She's literally on show, and it's just like, and no one cares, except Clark. So yeah, it is a tragic moment. I really care for Alicia, and I was sorry to see her go, but I would rather he went with Alicia than Lana, to be honest. But
Alicia was a bit of a better character, and plus, like you said, like Tom Welling's acting was incredible when he found her body and he was holding her body, like screaming in that barn, like every ounce of his power, and he can't save her. It's just, it was a good moment. And so, like Ageless, where it adds nothing, this adds something to Clark, because you see Clark looking for the best in people and finding the best in people and nurturing the best in people. And so it's her character arc, while she's crazy. You see her fighting her demons, and you see the best in Clark through all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, staying on the subject of Alicia, let's dive into your number 3.
My number 3 is Unsafe. Yes, that's it.
Unsafe.
So this is the episode that comes just before Pariah, which has her coming back. Again, like I say, this is the reintroduction of a character that we'd already had in a previous season. So right there's already a history. We don't need a getting to know you kind of phase because we know who this character is. There's already history there. And it's really just all about, has she changed or hasn't she? And there's a lot in there to suggest she has, and there's a lot in there to suggest she hasn't. But ultimately, as I've already stated, I think because she's being manipulated, because she's being mistreated, that is what is determining her more erratic kind of behavior. And because she doesn't have a history, she doesn't have experience of relating to people in a normal way, that's going to come into play as well. So I do think as well, it's Carter's performance makes her quite sympathetic and likable. I think if you put this character in the wrong actor's hands, then it probably wouldn't come off as well as it does. But there's some good entertaining stuff in here as well, like when she slips Clark a red kryptonite ring and they run off to Vegas.
Actually, it's a necklace. Married. The necklace she makes.
The necklace, that's it. Yeah, and they go off to Vegas and get married, and it's just like, that whole stuff gets a little bit sexy as well, must be said.
Well, you know what's interesting about that episode with all the sexy stuff they did? I felt like they actually did a really good message with that, because first you have Lana, who wants to give it up to Jason because she just thinks he's more mature and that's what he wants. And then Chloe gives this revelation of, hey, I already had my first time. And you know what I regret? It wasn't with somebody special. And so it's like, don't take this casual and don't take this lightly. You need to think about this. And then you do the same thing with Clark and Alicia. It's a little more funny because they're in Vegas and getting married and all that stuff. But like, it's interesting how it dealt with that. What I loved is once the red kryptonite comes off and Clark goes home, I love the Kents talking about how sacred marriage is. And they're like, I know you were on red kryptonite, but nonetheless, I thought we gave you a stronger foundation than that. Marriage is sacred. And I love how they dealt with that better than the shows do nowadays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's funny you should mention that. I've pulled up my review I did like a blog kind of review, Smallville. This is what I said about that particular episode. It mirrors exactly what you just said, really. So the scene where Clark and Alicia get married and then go on their honeymoon is hilarious. It's also quite racy for a show centered on teens. But I love that this episode deals quite heavily with the theme of responsibility in regard to sexual relations. I love that Chloe is able to advise Lana about what she intends to do with Jason. She's coming at it from the point of view of someone who regrets her first time. Add to that Jonathan and Martha's stance on marriage and the acknowledgement that Clark is still a virgin, and I think the episode, for the most part, tries to display a moral attitude towards sex that is rarely depicted on film and television these days. So, there you go. So I wrote that in my original review, and totally, absolutely, it's just not something you see. I mean... One of the strengths of Smallville, like the early seasons, season 1 to 5, is that relationship Clark has with his parents. Because you don't get normally, like most TV shows, that relationship is broken. It tends to be that the child has some kind of issues with, if not one, but both the parents, and it's always this angst and stuff. Whereas Smallville, we got this great relationship between parents and child. And you just don't see it enough in TV shows and films. It's always got to be about the negative and about the tragedy and about the angst and the broken relationship.
Parents are stupid and unfair. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is one of the reasons I love this particular episode. I think it's great without being
Yeah.
heavy-handed.
No, and I think that's one of the best things. It managed to do it by telling it naturally in the story
Yeah.
without being preachy. And I mean, even coming out, when did that episode air? Like 2004, 2005. So yeah, it's before a lot of the CW shows now. But even then, there were a lot of shows that are all about, yeah, be casual with it. And here's this show being like, no, marriage is important, and sex, you shouldn't have such a casual attitude towards it. And it's like, wow. And you did it without smacking me in the head. Gosh, that's
or judging as well. It did it also without judging. Like, so that conversation between Chloe and Lana is a good one, because it's not judging either one of them. It's Chloe kind of coming to terms with a decision she made and saying, you know what, I probably would do things different now, and she's allowing Lana the opportunity to rethink her perspective, so to speak. So it's a really good episode.
Now, I find it almost unrealistic that Jason was the one who put on the brakes. Oh, but that's a conversation for another time. Well, my number 3 is the same as your number 2. So my number 3 is Transference, which makes your number 2 Transference.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of my favorite episodes of season 4. And I always love Lionel Luthor. And I feel like every season that Lionel's in, they find something very interesting to do with Lionel. Like season 3 was all about the Lionel-Lex relationship. Season 2 was all about Lionel's starting to discover Clark Kent and, being obsessed with him. And so season 4 takes us to that next level where he's hunting down the 3 stones. And I could believe that he'd be hunting down the 3 stones, but I love that he had the Transference stone and he and Clark swap bodies. Because number one, just on the shallow level, it is completely hysterical. And Tom Welling did a great job mimicking John Glover, like picking up that tractor and that look on his face. And he's like, of course, it all makes so much sense now. Or he sniffs Martha's hair and fire shoots out of his eyes,
Because we all know that when you've got kryptonite, when you've got the powers of a Kryptonian,
that's right.
You get horny. You see something that makes you horny. You shoot fire from your eyes. Okay.
Yes.
More on that when we get to season 5.
Oh boy. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Can't wait to cover that. But oh gosh, that might be yours and I's number 1 bottom, right? Let's not go there yet.
Possibly, yeah.
But I love this episode. And I think the only thing that I find a weakness in this episode, and I guess it's not really weak, but I didn't like that when their bodies switched back, Lionel forgot everything.
Because but Clark didn't.
But Clark didn't. And it makes sense. A Kryptonian spirit versus a human spirit not being able to retain the memories of what happened in a Kryptonian body, but a Kryptonian spirit is just that much more powerful. It's like, you know what? I can make sense out of it, but it felt like a cop-out, because one of the coolest results of this is the fact that Lionel was dying of that liver disease and nothing could cure him. But Clark's spirit, that goodness being in his body, healed his liver, and it fundamentally changed him for at least a couple episodes where he really was trying to be good and trying to turn over a better leaf. I actually, in my review, likened it to where Jesus talked about the seed that fell on shallow ground. Like, it began to grow, but when it landed on those rocks, it had no root to grab a hold of, so it was easily snatched away. And I feel like that was Lionel's conversion in season 4. Not season 5, but his first conversion in season 4 was definitely that shallow one. But you see that it changed him, so I could imagine Lionel keeping Clark's secret for a while because it changed him that much. But I kind of wish that he kept those memories and we had to deal with it. And it felt a little like a cop-out that he lost it. But forgetting that, the episode is hysterical. It is so well done. And I love seeing Clark Kent act like John Glover. And I think my favorite line is Lana Lang walks into the barn and Tom Welling or whatever, John Glover, whatever, Clark goes, oh, this. It's just great watching Lionel try to deal with Clark's life and then try to use Clark's powers to accomplish what he wants. It was very cool.
I will say I'm down the middle when it comes to the whole memory thing, because normally I it's one of my bugbears on Smallville is that people lose the memory left, right, and center when it's convenient. The argument can be made for this that the whole transference thing in the first place was only done as a result of a Kryptonian stone. So it makes sense that the technology that is used to do that would favor the Kryptonian within that.
It's true. Yeah, and like you can make sense out of it. So it's not like a big weakness, but it's like it would be cool if they had to deal with that.
Yeah. It does feel like a bit of a cop out, but it's still a great episode.
Oh yeah.
So
awesome.
There you go.
All right. Well, my where are we at? We're at your number two. So my number 2 and your number 1. I told you. 2. It's my number 2. So, but here we go. My number 2, Onyx, and your number 1, Onyx. You kick us off on this conversation.
Straight. Man alive. This episode there is no excuse for this not being your number 1. This is the only correct answer for what
Brian
the number 1 episode.
It's not my number 1.
You're going to say commencement, aren't you? I know you are.
We'll see when we get to it, but
so Onyx is just for one thing, it puts all the focus on Michael Rosenbaum. So right off the bat, you're onto a winner. If you got an episode that's going to focus,
performance is killer.
Yeah, his performance is killer. Yeah, he does an excellent job. Rosenbaum is just, quite frankly, the star of the whole show for me. And it's just like it really just gets to the meat and bones of who Lex is. What this dichotomy of these two people within him that are kind of tearing himself apart to each kind of vie for supremacy, and it feels like it's the moment.
Yeah,
it feels like it's the moment where that dark side finally gets dominance kind of thing. And from this point on, it never loses that dominance.
Yes,
and it's just but it's a great episode. Seeing Lex put on the kryptonite ring and give Clark a good going over, it's just, that's something right out of the comic books.
I am the villain of this story.
Yeah, that line, come on. If you're gonna go up to Michael Rosenbaum and get him to quote one line from the show, what line is it going to be?
I am the villain of this story.
Exactly. There's only one answer. I am the villain of the story. There is no other answer. That's the line. That's the line everyone's going to remember. So it's such a good episode. Here's the other thing as well. No subplots.
Yes.
At all.
That is the best part of this. Just focus on Michael Rosenbaum.
No subplots. Name another episode of Smallville that has no subplots. Like, literally, a lot of the time with Smallville, you can have a really great episode that is undermined by a B-list or D-list subplot. Yeah. And that can sometimes be the bugbear. It's you had to put that freak of the week in there that's knocked it down.
This one did not.
No subplot at all. Literally, everything in this episode is tied to and about that whole thing with Lex being split in two. There's nothing else. Literally, this episode, if you'd have extended it to an hour and a half or something, you've got Smallville the movie right there. If they'd have wanted to make a movie of the show at this point, this episode, the story they used for this episode would have been a great movie, because it's great. It's a really great episode. Easily the best of the season for me.
Yeah.
What more can I say?
Getting a lot of reaction here, too. I love it, says Mary. She adds, Rosenbaum did such a great job.
Yes,
and,
he
of
did.
course, Aaron White, I am the villain of this story. Mic drop. Boom. Yes, that is like the be-all, end-all line. What about Blank? Yeah, that one did not make my top 5, but I bet you it'd probably be in my top 10. And I like Blank. I thought that was interesting, and it's interesting to see Lex trying to take advantage of Clark. And I love Chloe doing everything she can to protect Clark when Clark's not supposed to know that she knows.
Yeah.
And then Onyx is good. Very interesting story. Yep.
Yeah, I gave Blank a 7 out of 10 when I reviewed it for my blog. So I thought it was a good episode, but it doesn't. It again, it's one of those episodes where I have to kind of go back and read about it to remind myself what it actually was. Whereas, something like Onyx, Transference, they're episodes where you say the title to me, I know exactly what it is because it's just that damn good.
Yep. One of the great things about Onyx is it ages well with the show because in light of season 7, there's an episode that has a dumb premise but a very good idea where Clark goes inside of Lex's head. But what you see is the continuation of Onyx in his head, represented by little Alexander, and then white tuxedoed Lex Luthor with the black glove. And so it's exactly what you said earlier, that you see this just continue for the rest of the show. And this is where the dominant personality, the dark one, begins to take over.
Yeah.
And then even including in season 7, where Lex is just so done listening to Alexander in his head, it all just comes back to this. So it's almost like you have this Onyx trilogy with the 2 episodes in season 7 and this episode in season 4. And so it's like the relevancy of this episode, it just doesn't go away. And so it shows you, like, again, Smallville season 4 probably has some of the lowest lows of the whole show. But this episode is one of those that is so unbelievably good that it does just stick around. It's awesome.
Yeah, because people often ask, like, one of the big questions that often gets asked about the show is, could Lex have been good if he'd have had Clark's parents? And I believe the firm answer to that is yes. Okay, because what we see in Onyx is a 50-50 split.
Yep.
Like when the 2 of them are pulled apart, they look identical. It's just one is evil and one is good. It's a 50-50 split. And, but it's from this point that evil Lex starts to dominate. So by the time we get to season 7, good Lex is little Lex. He's getting smaller. He's getting more confined until eventually he's just gone. And it's just like, so it's just great episode. Absolutely brilliant. My number 1.
It's a strong foundational episode. So now to top that, I guess, here we go. My number 1, Brian guessed it. It is Commencement. I for some reason, this always has stood out to me as one of my favorite season finales. I love the idea of a second meteor shower.
Yeah.
And so more kryptonite, more meteor freaks, which sadly might mean more freak of the weeks later on. But still, it's the implications that a second meteor shower brings with it, but also the implication of a ship, because the first meteor shower concealed the arrival of Kal-El. Well, this meteor shower conceals the arrival of the interactive brain construct piloted by those 2 disciples of Zod. And we don't get them at this finale, but we see the ship crash. And I love that epic ending because I remember thinking I am beyond excited to know who is in that ship. I was just thinking Zod back in the day when I first saw it because, I had no idea that they were going to do Brainiac. I had no idea it was going to be Brainiac in there. So I thought that was awesome. The other thing is I love that scene where Lex and Lionel, they're at each other's throats. And Lex is like, I know you have one of the stones. And Lionel's like, Lex, I don't have the stone. And at that moment, the stone ignites in his jacket pocket. But what's great about that is him falling to the ground and collapsing, and it zooms into his eye, and it's filled with all those Kryptonian symbols. And you sit there, and I remember thinking this when I watched this episode. What I loved about this episode, it did rip off 24 with the countdown to the meteors, and I remember not even caring because I just liked the intensity that brought. I liked this episode opening with Clark's vision that something really wicked and bad was coming. I thought that was pretty epic. And then that continues to build as we know this meteor shower is coming, and we're counting down to the meteors crashing down on the Earth. And so all of that I thought was incredibly intense. And now Clark has realized he's dilly-dally. Like, he knew how important it was to get these 3 stones. Jor-El told him what a big deal this was. And because he did not obey, Guinevere Teague got stabbed by Lana Lang with one of those stones, and human blood awoke the element and brought it to Earth. And it's like, oh, I love you, Clark, but you should have been listening to Jor-El. Even when you broke the Kal-El thing, you should have been listening to Jor-El and seeking out these stones, like in the prison. Like when that riot was going on, why couldn't Clark get the stone? He's super strong, super fast. He has X-ray vision. You can't tell me he lost track of that stone. So, but it makes sense in the story because it's Clark holding back. And so now we see Clark pay this price of holding back and not stones when he should have. And so to me, that's also an incredibly interesting plot line. And so now we have the second meteor shower, new meteor freaks. We have the promise of opening season 5 with Kryptonians and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I love the ending shot with Clark in the Arctic and him tossing the crystal because, you know, me being the Superman the movie fan that I am, my heart just melted. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're getting the fortress. And then it cuts to black. And I was like, no! 3 months until I get the fortress? Oh! But that, I love that finale. I think it's a great finale. I mean, what did you think?
Commencement's my number 6.
Oh, so close to your top 5.
Yeah. When I first saw the season, and probably the first couple of times I saw the season, it was my number 1. It's a big episode. There's they spend some money on it. You can tell that, you know. So I feel like on my most recent rewatch, like it'd been a while since I'd seen season 4, but because I was reviewing them on my channel, I've been going back from the beginning and rewatching all the seasons. Commencement was the one I was most excited to get to, just because I remember how damn good it was. It was just so dense and stuff. It didn't quite live up to my memories of it, and I don't say that as in, oh, it sucked, I don't like it. It's still a great episode. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. It's a fantastic episode. There are just a few little things in it that kind of bug me. Like just how crap the military officers are.
Yeah. Like how Lois is the one who kind of straightens them up, you know, the daughter of General Lane.
That moment when Lois goes over and starts going, move it, soldier, you know, and I'm not buying it at all, and I'm just like, sorry, but no, Lois. I get you were raised on a military base and all that. You're an army brat, which you're very fond of reminding us, but
she never stops reminding us of that.
Yeah, but no, sorry. I'm not buying for a moment that these highly trained military men are going to be impressed by your so it's just when you've got something that hokey going on in the midst of all this like greatness, it pulls me out of the moment for a bit. I also feel like it's a little bit cluttered with too many big moments. Like this, doesn't this episode start with the death of Genevieve Teague?
Yeah, that was the beginning and the end of the witch, which is why I said her plot B was stupid. You know?
It's like so it's literally like before the opening credits come on, they have a mega showdown, you know. But it's not handled particularly well. It's like it just fizzles out. So we've had this character of Genevieve Teague who's been built up across the course of season 4, and then it's like, it kind of reminds me of the whole Dominion War in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, for anyone who's aware of that. You know, the very last
I'm
episode.
in the middle of that war, but yeah, go on.
Oh man,
You can
have you ever
spoil
seen it
it.
before?
I don't care. I've lost interest. It's been months since I picked up an episode. So go ahead, spoil it.
Oh,
Give me something to look forward to.
well, I apologize profusely, but I'm sorry. That Star Trek Deep Space Nine had one of the best build-ups to an epic super battle ever. I was like so ready for it. That last episode, like the second to last episode ends with this huge armada kind of coming up, and the Dominion, they're all getting together. It's just going to be one big ass space battle. It's going to be rocking. Battle's over in the opening, in the pre-credit sequence, right?
Oh, that's
Battle's
sad.
over in the pre-credit sequence. Then the rest of the episode is just flashbacks, and it's the biggest disappointment I've ever had from a TV show ever. So much build up with so little payoff. So it's not quite on that level. But when you've got a villain of the season, Genevieve Teague is kind of like she's one of the main villains of season 4, and it's just like we're done with her. Scratch her in the opening credit sequence, the pre-credit sequence, and then let's move on with what's really important. Yeah, it's just like I kind of feel like Jane Seymour deserved a little bit more respect than that, to be honest. So
she deserved more respect. I'm sad that she got put into that plot line, which deserved no respect.
Yeah, yes. But it's just, but if you're going to have that plot line, you've made your bed, lie in it. So at least do it some justice. She should have been done away with in the episode prior to this.
I agree.
And they should have they should have had that as a subplot going on with Lana and her that culminated in that, so it had more impact and made you want to come back for the finale, how they're going to resolve this. But instead they kind of just throw it all together in a pre-credit sequence. So like I say, there's a lot going on in the episode. It's action-packed. There's huge moments in it. It's all guns blazing. It is a great episode, but it's too jam-packed to the point where certain moments don't have as much impact as they should, and then other moments are just laughable because they take place within the midst of something that should be a lot more serious than that. But I do love it. I do love the episode.
Yeah. See, the love for my episode outweighs some of those negatives, because I find it really cheesy that Lois pulls what she pulls with that guy, because it's like, I don't care that you're the daughter of a general. You're not an officer, so you're not somebody that has command over him. So you're not gonna. So I agree with that. The Teague thing, and again, this is just where I feel bad for Jane Seymour and poor Jason, because he deserved better too. I mean, thankfully he got that show that ran over Supernatural, but I feel bad because I feel like they did deserve something better than the witch plot line. But when we got to this episode, I remember watching it live. I hated the witch plot line so bad. I was just so happy they threw it away at the beginning. Like, it was not a disappointment to me. I was just happy it was done, out of the way. Let's get to the real stuff. And so, that's kind of where my feelings towards that were the first time I watched it, and it did not change anytime afterwards that I've watched it. Yeah. Well, there we have it. That is
should have been the previous one.
Yeah. I feel so bad for her. I feel so bad. She deserved so much better. Well, there you have it. Those were our bottom 5 episodes of season 4 and our top 5 episodes of season 4. And we want to hear from you in the comments. Did you guys watch the DCAU animated series? That depends. I watched Batman the animated series.
Yes. I watched Batman. I've got them all. So I've got Batman, I've got Justice League Unlimited, Superman, the animated series, Batman Beyond on Blu-ray, I just picked up not so long ago. So, nice. I'm a big fan. The only ones I've not seen, which I'm reliably told you don't need to see, are Static Shock and is it the Zeta Project or something? Which never got a release over here anyway, and from what I hear, there's a good reason why. But yes, I am a fan, and yes, I would be very interested in doing some kind of related show at some point in the future.
That would be awesome, because I love Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, and Green Lantern the animated series. Green Lantern got gypped. They should have had more. Yeah. Well, Bryan, where can people find you? Your tag there says Bryan Lomax / the movie evangelist. So tell us about both of your channels.
Yes, well, I have not one, not two, but three
Oh.
YouTube channels.
Oh, well, let's plug all three of those.
And I'm actually running a fourth as part of my day job. So, yes, YouTube is pretty much my life at the minute. So my main channel is Bryan Lomax Movie Talk, which is general movie reviews, all that kind of stuff. And then I have a channel called The Movie Evangelist, which... so the slogan for that channel is connecting to faith through film. So I look at movies and I see how they can bring us closer to the Christian faith. What you can take away from movies that might challenge your faith, strengthen your faith, whatever. Just mainly as a way of getting people to be a bit more active with the way they view things rather than passive. I think it's very important that we're active audiences, not passive audiences. Watch what you want by all means, but analyze it, see what you're doing. And the third channel is it's an X-Files podcast, which I've just started up with a good friend of mine, Graham from Man v Film. So we're going through every episode of the X-Files and reviewing it. So
nice.
Each episode on there is an episode of the X-Files, starting with the very first one. We've done 3 so far. The fourth, so that they're posted every Monday. So, but yeah, there you go. It's quite a busy man on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start watching X-Files. It's funny because Bryan and I, we connect. We had a destiny to connect on YouTube. 1, mutual friend Cody Leach, but 2, he saw the Smallville DVDs on my old set, and then number 3, his other channel, the Movie Evangelist, because I do those theological reviews where I like to do that same thing. So we were destined to come and hang out on YouTube together and do these Smallville videos and things. So definitely. Awesome. Well, definitely head over to all 3 of Bryan's channels that he promoted there. And I'll make sure he sends me the links to all 3. I'll put them in the description. And then you could just head over and subscribe to all that is Bryan Lomax. And then make sure you hit that subscribe button here as well to become a Durbanian, because we will be continuing our top 5, bottom 5 rankings of Smallville seasons as we go. I got up to season 8, released that today, so I have 2 more seasons. So season 9 will drop on Sunday, and my season 10 review will drop the following Sunday. Bryan, where are you with your Smallville season reviews?
So I've just watched season 7. This month is so busy for me because I've stupidly latched on to so many different things. We've got another 31 on the 31st coming, so I've been binge watching Nolan, Tarantino, and Fincher movies. If that wasn't enough, me and Cody are both doing our top 50 comedies, top 50 horror movies, and top 50 action
50,
movies.
Not 15, 50,
50. And then after we've done those 3 bad boys, in January, we're both doing our top 100 movies of all time.
Good golly, what have you done?
What have I done? So it's one of those things where you say yes to these things, and then all of a sudden you start looking at your calendar thinking, how the hell am I going to get this stuff done? That's stupid. You stupid man. Why did you say yes to this? So yes, I've watched season 7. I'm just getting into season 8. I'm not sure when my reviews are going to come, to be honest, just because I'm absolutely swamped right now. Christmas is coming as well, so.
But his reviews are excellent. So head over there, check out his reviews of seasons 1 through 6, and hit that bell on his channel so when he drops all of this epic stuff that he's stressing over right now, because it's going to be great. You can check all of that stuff out, as well as his Smallville seasons when they come on down the pike. So awesome. I want to say thank you to all of you who've been here in the comments. And
Wizzy Lizzie there, can we do a Lexmas watch party week?
Ooh.
We will be in touch.
Yes. Yes. Bryan and I need to do some planning. Awesome. Oh, I keep hitting the buttons wrong. There we go. All right. Awesome. Oh, and thank you so much for that. It's such a nice compliment. Love your reviews. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So head over to Bryan's channels and hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button right here so you're ready for all the stuff that is dropping and all the stuff that we have coming down the pike. So definitely be a part of that. I'm Durbin, and this is Bryan. Have a Merry Christmas.